Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Sylvia Knits Stuff. Today we're doing it a little bit differently because, as usual, it's been a while and I don't want to be doing those long sit down and talk for an hour at a time podcasts. I just find it really tiring and difficult to prepare for because I leave so much time between the episodes. But anyway, you're going to see we're going to do it kind of more vloggy style. I'm going to check in with you guys a couple of different times and show you what I'm working on and maybe some recently finished projects. And so today I bound off this and I am not happy about it. So first of all, this is the Lunaty. It's a pattern by Charissa or Carissa. I'm not sure how you say your name, if it's a soft CH or not. In theory, I really liked this top and I had bought 3 50-gram skeins of this yarn. It's a non-superwash 100% merino yarn and it's got like a yellowy base color with these funky green speckles. And I was like, I want something kind of simple and brainless to knit with this yarn because I've been having issues with a lot of different projects in the past few months, like projects that haven't worked out how I want them, projects I've had to redo, frog, give up on, whatever. I feel like there's been a lot of that happening lately. And maybe it's because I don't necessarily think about why I want to knit a certain thing, what I need in my wardrobe. And I think I need to be a little bit more intentional with the things that I'm making. And I know it sounds very buzzwordy, but like I just finished this and I enjoyed knitting it and I hate it. So this is knit, I said, with a 100% merino from a brand called Bouclette. I bought it really recently at the end of last month. So today is April 23rd. And I bought it at the Fête de la Laine, which is a yarn festival that took place in just outside of Paris at the end of March. And this brand, Bouclette, I had not heard of before. They were following me on Instagram apparently. And they have a mohair farm actually. And so their main yarn I think is mohair. But when I went, I don't think they had much mohair. I think it were kind of like in between batches or something, and they started selling non-superwash yarns like this one. And I'm not sure where the fiber comes from, but I think it's French perhaps. But anyway, this is the label. And the colorway is called Limonade. And I really enjoy the colorway very much, which is also why I'm like, I think I want to frog this thing entirely. And I got bangs a month ago and they have become way too long and unwieldy. So I'm just, too much hair in my face. I don't know what to do with it right now. But anyway, I knit the size 6, which is, I think, a 96 centimeter circumference. I didn't swatch. I started with the recommended needles, which was 4 millimeters. Noticed that my gauge was too big, so I frogged and sized down. I'd only done part of the collar, so it was basically like doing a gauge swatch, and I think I got the fit right. And the pattern gives you a couple different options for the sleeves and for the body. You can either do sleeves with decreases and the body with decreases, or do it straight. And the thing is, I only had 150 grams of this yarn, so I decided I would do the sleeves first and then do the body to the length indicated in the pattern and see if I wanted to change up the sleeves. And I had, I think, about 12 grams of my first ball of yarn, and I used that for the sleeves. So I just did little mini sleeves, and I hate how they look. I hate, because this is a non-superwash yarn, it's a bit more rigid, so it's not gonna kind of drape down. And it looks like I have weird little wings here. So I'm like, okay, we can frog the sleeves, lengthen the sleeves, add in a bunch of decreases because I think I would want it quite tight to my arm. And that's how it looks in the pattern pictures. Though one thing that I did find a little annoying, unless I'm misremembering, the pattern didn't say how long to knit the sleeves, so it matches the pattern pictures. It just says like knit sleeves to however long you want them or something along those lines. And I was kind of like, okay, we're just gonna do this and see how it goes. And I hate it. Because the thing is, I don't like t-shirts with sleeves that are too long either. But yeah, I hate the sleeves right now as they are. I am also hating this collar. It's supposed to go up even more, I think. And this reminds me of when I was knitting my elf mail sweater that I almost never wear. Because it's a raglan also, and the collar was kind of like giving me those raglan choking vibes. Like the elf mail did have short row shaping behind the neck. This actually has short row shaping on the back after you split for the sleeve, which I'd never seen before. And I think it's kind of helping. But it's still given, I mean, it's supposed to be a bit of a high neck, a bit of a tight high neck. And once again, Sylvia of today is like, why did you choose to knit this pattern if you don't like tight neck things? Like, I just wasn't thinking. I did the decreases on the side. Here, you can see. But I feel like that's the issue with having a large circumference up here, is that it's giving like tight, 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 tight here, and then loose after the boobs, and it's flaring out. And I think that's partially because of the bind off that I chose. I did a half Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off where I only do the yarn overs on the pearls. So it looks a little bit nicer, but it still has a bit of stretch. And I think it's still too flary outy, but I don't like the fact that it's like tight, 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 and then flaring out, which is kind of the same thing that's happening with the sleeves. So not thrilled about the sleeves, not thrilled about the neckline, not thrilled about the body fit. So it's like, okay, I could perhaps pick up stitches around the neckline and chop off the neckline and do it a bit, just keep it a bit lower. But still, I wouldn't be able to lower it that much, maybe like down to here, which I think might still bother me, honestly. I could frog my little sleevelets and do a longer tapered sleeve, and I could, I don't know, add more length to the body, because I also don't like that it's kind of like, it's not really a super hot weather garment, and that the cropped length isn't even hitting the top of my pants. I mean, kind of, but I have a couple tops that are kind of cropped, but they're not really hot weather garments, and I find that it's really not the best to style them when it's cold out, because then you have part of your stomach hanging out and you're cold. My issue with the neckline also is I wear this cardigan all the time at home. Often when I put on little knit tops, I'll throw this on top. It's my most worn knit by far. And it does kind of have an issue of, if I'm wearing something kind of high necked, it'll kind of tug it down in the back and pull the neck in the front. And that's not the fault of the pattern, obviously. And the neck comfort is also not the fault of the pattern. I think it's still a really cute looking top, but I just don't think it's working for me. Like, do I really want to do all of these changes? Will I be happy with it after I've made all of those changes? I do not know. I'm not sure. So I'm kind of meh about the whole thing. This did teach me a new technique though. It has you do Japanese short rows, which was actually really simple. I was at my Tricobière knit night and I had brought this project with me and I had to do the short rows, and I was like, oh, I have to learn a new technique now. And so me and one of my friends were watching the tutorial for Japanese short rows, I think from Very Pink Knits, on my phone, and we were both like, oh, that's it. Okay, it's really simple, really easy. And so yeah, it taught me a new technique, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen to it right now. I am not sure if I have anything else to say about this right now. It was an enjoyable knit. You know, I like knitting rib and broken rib and all of those kinds of brainless patterns. And I do enjoy knitting a raglan because it's just, you know, you can just go round and round and round. Just remember to do your increases where you have to. But I've been reflecting a bit more on my knits and what I want to wear and what I don't enjoy wearing and what I wear, like what I actually wear and what I don't wear. And the fit of this is kind of giving me like rumble raglan vibes. The yoke fits a little bit better here. It fits really well under the armpit, but I have a hard time wearing the rumble raglan because it's short sleeve, high neck. I don't know, it kind of doesn't, I don't know how much of a space there is for that kind of thing in my wardrobe. So did I just spend 3 weeks knitting this and I'm potentially gonna frog it? Chances are high. Chances are pretty high. Before I leave you guys today, I'm going to show you one more finished object for a pattern that just released. Okay, I just changed into this and honestly, it feels like a huge relief to take that top off my body and put this on top and change into this. It's, you know, obviously got more of an open neckline, and this is a plant fiber. And it just feels so much more comfortable, okay? So this is the A Song of Fire and Ice top from James N. Watts. He just released the pattern yesterday on April 22nd on his birthday. He's currently running a sale, 25% off all of his patterns. Until when? I don't remember. I don't know if the sale will still be going when I post this, but he is running a sale right now. I've tested quite a few patterns for James, and I find that he writes clear, easy to understand patterns, and this was no different. I originally started knitting a scrappy yarn version that didn't work because it was just taking too long to deal with all of the different colors that I was trying to use. And so then I knitted in this cotton bamboo from a store called Action here in France. I think it's a Dutch or Belgian chain where it's kind of like discount stores. And I don't think it's a yarn you would find anywhere else. It's like Alison and Aimée cotton bamboo yarn, it's called. And so I had found that yarn. I found that yarn at Action a couple weeks ago and figured I could try to knit this with it. And I think it came out really cute. It's got really pastel vibes and it's super soft and nice and drapey. And I knit it completely to pattern. I didn't make any changes. I did a basic bind off also, like he just says bind off in rib, and on almost everything I've been knitting lately, I've been doing Italian bind offs if it's 1x1 rib, but I honestly just wasn't feeling it. So I decided to do the basic bind off like he says in the pattern. I knit the size large, and I'm not sure how much yarn I used. I had a bunch of different balls of that yarn, and I used just over 3 of the purple, and so they were 50 grams, 120 meters. So just over 3 balls of purple, just over 1 ball of pink, maybe like 1.5. I think 1.5 the balls of pink, and then just over 1 of the blue, I believe. So editing Sylvia can do a rough tally on the screen, or editing Sylvia can also go weigh her shirt and tell you how much it weighs and figure it out from there. One or the other will happen, or maybe both. This is, I think I said it's a modular knitting pattern. It is knit mostly flat. The only things that are knit in the round are the ribbing here, the ribbing at the bottom, and the sleeves. Basically, you cast on one side of the front and you knit this way in this direction. You do your neckline shaping and then you keep going. There is shoulder shaping. So when you start here, you start increasing. Then you do the neckline and then you decrease to create that shoulder slope situation. And then once you finish the first little panel, you do the second and third panels in the same exact way. I decided to change up the color because I thought it would look fun, and I also wasn't sure if I had enough pink to do just pink and purple, which I don't think I would have had enough. So it was a good idea to bring in the blue as well. If you've never knit a modular piece, but you've knit like a cardigan with a double knit button band, it's the same exact technique. Basically, once you finish knitting this part, you pick up stitches all along here. And so if it were a cardigan with a button band, you would be doing it in kind of this direction instead, but it's still the same technique. You pick up all along here, and then you cast on new stitches and you start knitting in this direction, and at the end of every purl row you do a purl two together to attach it to your other band, basically. You do a purl two together with a picked up stitch that corresponds to that row. Very simple, very easy. And I feel like the stripes keep it from getting boring or tiring, because you're always like, oh, another stripe, another stripe, another stripe. They're only 6-row stripes, and you never have too many stitches on your needles, other than the bottom ribbing is when you have the most stitches on your needles. So it was quite an enjoyable knit, and I actually really enjoyed knitting this yarn. I know it's not a widely available yarn. You're probably not going to be able to find it if you look for it. Things at Action, they appear and disappear very quickly as well. But it was it's a 50% bamboo, 50% cotton blend. And unlike many plant fibers that I've knit, it actually wasn't very splitty. It was kind of splitty when I had to cast on stitches. But in general, with the knitting process, I found it quite easy to knit. It obviously doesn't have elasticity because it is, cotton and viscose. There's no merino, none of that. But I found that it flowed very nicely through my fingers on the needles. It was very smooth and didn't feel quite as dry or crunchy as a 100% cotton. And I think the fact that there is the cotton viscose blend will also keep it from stretching out too much. Because I did knit my top Kylie pullover by Irene Lynn in a 100% viscose bamboo, and it just, I never wear that thing because one, it fuzzes like crazy, and it's stretched out so much it just doesn't look good. So hopefully this was a good yarn choice, but it's really soft and really nice to wear. Okay, I will check in with you guys maybe some other time this week. Oh, let me show you something real quick. This is knitting adjacent. I want to make a separate sewing video to keep it separate, but this is knitting adjacent. This weekend I made a patchwork project bag, and I discovered that I actually really enjoyed the process of patchworking. It was really fun. It's really cute. I love it. And the pattern I used were some instructions that my friend Claire gave me that I think she photocopied her mom's handwritten instructions, so it's not anything I can link to. But it's just super simple. I made the little ties with the gingham fabric, and I thought that was a bit of a stroke of genius. I was really happy with myself because I was like, oh, I don't have any drawstring cords or anything like that. What can I use? Oh, I can make my own ties. Yeah. But I wanted to try to use up scrap fabric, and obviously I used up some, but I still have a lot to use up. So am I gonna make a bunch of bags now? I don't know. All right, talk to you later. Hey guys, so it's May 5th. It's been a while since I filmed the last clip, and I want to show you guys some yarn I just got at a yarn festival that we had in Paris last weekend called Lénorama. It took place in the Mairie du 5e, so the town hall of the 5th arrondissement or district of Paris. And it was not a huge festival. There was a good amount of stuff there, some really nice superwash and non-superwash options. There was one stand that sold alpaca from Peru. There was a stand selling like little felted wool pieces and like kits to make stuff. I wanted to go into it with I don't want to spend a lot of money. I don't want to buy a bunch of stuff because my yarn stash, as you can see, it's not the biggest you've ever seen probably, but it's still pretty big. And seeing as I mainly knit fingering weight stuff, I don't get through it that quickly. So in my mind, I was like, I want orange because I knit myself my Stromboli tee last year in orange and I really love it. And I have a neon orange helix halter that I also really like. So I was like, okay, I want to find orange and not just buy pinks and purples like always. Problem was, I went on Sunday and I was talking to a friend of mine who was volunteering there that weekend, and also to the, I think her name is Liz from Trélise. And she was like, oh yeah, I had a bunch of orange yesterday, but it was all the first to sell out. and apparently orange is very much like an it color right now. And there were some oranges, but it was either like a light, almost like creamsicle orange, or like a deeper orange, and I really wanted something more bright and flashy. So what happened, I bought pink and purple, but I also got some green. Let me show you. I got this cutie little sock set. Once again, this is a 50-gram skein. I don't remember how much the sock set was, but because it's only a 50-gram skein, it wasn't that much either, because as I said, I'm not trying to spend too much money out here. And this is from Cybèle, who's a French dyer who is often at lots of different festivals, and she does lots of fun colors. And a lot of her colors, I was like, ooh, I like it, but just trying to be reasonable, and limited myself to this little sock set in sock yarn. And also from her stand, I got these 2 skeins of Merino Tencel green. It's given kind of like barf green, olive green, not quite brat green, but these are actually from 2 different dye lots, and you can't really see much of a difference. There were the last 2 left in that color, and when I was showing my friend who was volunteering there, Aimée, what I had got when I was leaving, she was like, I got the same thing. So I guess we're gonna have matching tops at some point when she knits hers too. And the Merino Tencel is a sport weight, 333 meters per 100 grams. I got 2 tank top. It's gonna be a tank top of some sort. The colorway of this is pistache, which is French for pistachio. Oh, and then there are actually no names on the kit, no color names. Must have been like a one-off fun dye for the festival or something. And then the only other things that I bought were these 2 little guys. Oh, I did buy a cute little cup. They had some cute cups. I filmed a little bit at the event, so I'll insert that after this clip. And so I bought one of those cute cups that you're gonna see, the one with little hearts and a sheep. But I also bought these 2 50-gram skeins of self-striping. So this is hand-dyed self-striping from Le Bruit des Aiguilles, the noise of needles, which, you know, when you knit, your needles make noise. And so these colors, I think this one's called Toi, and this one appears to be called Julie. And they're 50 grams of fingering weight sock yarn, pretty classic in these colors. When I was like, yes, I wanted these 2 colors, the woman helping the dyer, because it wasn't the dyer, the dyer was talking with someone else. She was like, oh, do you want the full 100-gram skeins, or do you want the 50-gram skeins? And in my mind, I'm just like, I'm not looking to spend a bunch of money. I'm not looking to have a bunch of scraps and leftovers at the same time. Because this, I can just like knit. I'm thinking of trying out toe up socks for these, so I can use up everything, because I don't think I would be able to do like a full length sock. I would maybe have to do a slightly shorter leg than I usually do, but I'm not sure how much shorter, and so toe up would be, I guess, the best way to do that. So I get to try a new sock knitting technique once I get to these. Okay, back to my story. She was like, do you want 100 grams or 50 grams of each? And I asked the price, and it was 18 for the 50 grammers and 30 for the 100 grams. I'm like, oh, but you get more for your money when you buy the full skein. But you also get more yarn that's probably gonna hang around for a while. So I decided just give me the 50 grams. It's a little less money, it's a little less yarn. And in the end, I actually didn't pay that much for this one, because here you see this kind of like bluish green. That color didn't come out correctly on this batch. I think there were the only 50-gram ones that she had. And so it was €2 off, so it was 16 and 18 for these. And so I'm happy about that. Some cute self-striping socks in my future. Okay, it seems like I have a little bit more time. And I also stopped by Lil Weasel on Friday and I got some fun little tags among a few other things. I think that one's really funny. This brand, they have a bunch of them and I thought they were all really funny. And then this one, I'm gonna hold the package upside down because the labels are upside down, but it says, it has pockets, which is like perfect to put on dresses and skirts and stuff. So I thought these were fun. I also got sewing clips and some elastic thread because I want to try out shirring on, maybe like make a dress with a shirred top or something like that. This is a French brand, Bouin, I think. Yes, Manufacture Française. So we've got a little French flag action going on here, bleu, blanc, rouge. And then just the elastic thread. I wanted to talk to you guys about a few finished objects. I'm currently wearing my recently finished Luna tee, but I want to talk about socks right now. So we'll get back to this later. Last time I spoke to you guys, I was working on some socks with Artemis yarn scraps from her Aquatic Summer collection. And I think I had already, I don't remember if I had finished one sock or if, I don't remember exactly where I was, but I finished the pair a while ago and here they are. You can really see where I carried down my yarn here. I'm not the best at regulating my tension for this kind of thing, I find. I either make it too tight or too loose. I think it looks a little better on the second sock, but you can still kind of, I mean, there's also the jog. I didn't try to do jogless stripes or anything. I just didn't think of it, honestly. And I don't mind. And what I did was, because it looked a little janky, I flipped the socks so I can wear them, like flipped the socks in terms of heel placement. So for example, on one, I knit the heel on the first half of the stitches, and on the second, I knit the heel on the second half of the stitches. So then I could have my janky little seam just on the inside, and I can wear the socks like this and have the nice side looking out on both sides. And this was knit using Artemis sock yarn, as I said, from her Aquatic Summer collection. The purpley color is called Coral Reef, the bluey color is called Deep Sea, and the yellow is Bioluminescent. Just a basic vanilla sock with some stripes with a shadow wrap heel. Then I had also mentioned last time that my friend Michelle picked out a skein of Wooliette yarn in the colorway Oh La La, which is part of her Parisian collection, which is exclusive to Lil Weasel. So if you come to Paris and you go to Lil Weasel, you can find that yarn there. And she just wanted a fairly basic sock, the same pattern that I knit her last time, which wasn't really a pattern or anything. It was a vanilla sock with 2x2 ribbing, and just to keep a column of ribbing going down the entire kind of front of the sock, and I mirrored them. So you can wear the socks with either that column of rib. I don't really want to call it rib because it's really just like one little column, but you can either wear it with on the outside or on the inside of the foot. That was also pretty basic project. If I remember correctly, it was also just a plain shadow wrap heel, nothing too crazy, 60 stitches, just like the Aquatic Summer socks. And she was very happy with them. So that is great. Then after her socks, I actually totally messed up some socks. I knit them way too tight. I think I started them on the plane back from Puerto Rico because we went to Puerto Rico for a few weeks in March. I don't know. I knit some socks. I was like, I'm going to use the leftovers from my friend's socks, except that I didn't have my scale. So I couldn't see how much of that yarn I had. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to cast on, and if I run out of yarn, we'll see what happens. And so there were two problems. One, I didn't have enough yarn, and two, for some reason, I knit that sock so tight. When I got to, I think, the usual number of rounds that I do on the foot, it was still like an inch or two too short. And I was like, okay, well, I won't have enough yarn to make a pair, and this does not fit. It is strangling my foot. So I frogged that, and I think those scraps are now in my scrap drawer. After that, I cast on a free pattern called the Minecraft socks. So I was like, I want something a little more fun, especially with this fun yarn that I'm using. Let me show you. These are straight out of the wash. I think they've gotten maybe a wee bit fuzzy, but I haven't worn them a whole lot. They're still fairly recent. So this pattern is the Minecraft socks by Heather Cox. I knit a size 64 stitches, and it's a really simple 12-row repeat of alternating 3 rows of 2x2 rib, 3 rows of stockinette, 3 rows of 2x2 rib, but flipped, like you purl the stitches that were knit in your first section of 2x2 rib, and then 3 rows of stockinette. And so it makes this cool effect that almost looks like little bubbles. Like it's kind of 3D. I don't know how well you can see that here. And the yarn that I used is also super fun. It's from, what's it called? Wool Dreamers by Lang Yarn, I believe. If I'm not remembering the name correctly, it will be down in the description bar, and everything is also on my Ravelry. I don't know if I mentioned my Ravelry on the other clip, but my Ravelry and Instagram are Sylvia. Anyway, if I'm getting it wrong, you can find the information elsewhere. And it's just a more summery sock yarn. It's about half cotton, and then the rest is a blend of wool, not merino, and nylon. And so you can definitely feel it in the knitting. It's not as elastic, it's not as comfortable to knit, but I did find it more comfortable to knit than the Regia sock yarn that I knit that had a lot more. It was like a cotton polyester nylon blend. The wool made it a little bit more comfortable, but still not nearly as comfortable as a classic sock yarn. This pattern uses a heel flap and gusset. You just continue the funky little pattern on the heel flap. And I hadn't knit a heel flap and gusset in a while, and I do like heel flap and gussets. I think they're what fit me the best, honestly. Like I can finagle my foot into a shadow wrap heel, no problem, but you can definitely see a bit more pulling in the sock at that point. However, I knit, because I've been knitting 60 stitch socks, and when I first started knitting, I knit 56 stitch socks, and I think I've tightened up my tension a little bit. And then I knit this after having my sock fail, where I knit the 60 stitch socks that were like way too small, way too tight. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go for the 64 stitch size, because it's either 56, 64, or 72, because of the texture. And because of the texture, I don't think, and like the stitch count in the texture repeat, I'm not sure it would be possible to do this pattern with 60 stitches. And the very first socks I ever knit were 64 stitches, and they're a little big on me. But I was like, maybe this will fit me better because maybe I've tightened up a little bit. And I don't know if it's my gauge or if it's the cotton in there that doesn't have as much bounce back, but these are a little big on me as well. They don't have as much negative ease as I'd like for my socks, but they're still completely wearable. And I just think they're super cool, the combination of the yarn. And I find this yarn very fun and interesting to look at, because it seems like there's no real rhyme or reason in the stripes. It feels all very random. To keep to this sock talk, I have a pair of socks on the needles now. And if anyone was watching my videos like 2 years ago and you're still here with me, first of all, thank you. And you might remember this. This is a pattern I designed 2 years ago, just about, called the Paulista socks. This geometric pattern is actually from sidewalks in Sao Paulo, and my husband had asked me a while ago if I could design something with this pattern. And so I knit him a pair of socks, and originally when I was working on the pattern and testing out the color work and everything, I attempted to knit myself a pair first to kind of iron out all the kinks, but I think I started over 3 times, and it was too small. It wasn't working each time. So I was like, okay, well, his birthday's coming up. Now I think I know like the needle size I need, the stitch count I need, because his calf circumference is the same as mine. So I knit him a pair and was like, okay, well, I'll knit myself a pair and then I'll put the pattern up after that's done. And I just never got to it. So I'm finally knitting myself a pair right now, and I'd like to pop that pattern up on Ravelry once it's done. I did make the decision to put it up for free. I did make the decision to put it up for free. I also took my bonbon sock pattern, which is up on Ravelry, and I also decided to make that free. It's just annoying to be dealing with all of these little moving parts, especially since it's not really a big part of my income. Just like, whatever, it's free. I don't know if I'll change my mind later and change it back, but this will also be up for free. And so this is a colorwork sock, knit and fingering weight. You cast on with your main color, and then you do 2x2 rib with your contrasting color. You switch colors, but then you do a little stripe, and then you go into the color work, which is really cool. Honestly, I think if you focus on the gray, it looks like it pops out more, like that's the main print. But then if you focus on the darker gray, that almost feels like that's the main thing you should be looking at. I think it makes for a bit of a cool optical illusion. And yeah, so the leg is all in color work, and I can knit color work. I just get super annoyed with having to handle 2 yarns at the same time. Like it's like with knitting mosaic or anything else. I'm just like, ugh, I don't have that much patience. I will knit projects like this every once in a while, but I'm not gonna be like that kind of person who's like casting on one colorwork sweater after another. Or I know people who are obsessed with colorwork socks and just like cranking them out. And I'm like, nah, 1 or 2 a year maybe. And then I also have a heel flap in color. So we're doing another heel flap in gusset. Heel flap in colorwork rather, not color. And it's a really simple color work on the heel flap. It's just 1-1. And it's not a slip stitch motif or anything. You just knit every stitch, switching your color with every stitch. And then the rest is just going to be a fairly classic sock. And I think one thing that's also kind of cool is that when you start, it looks almost like your contrast color is your main color, especially if you focus on it in the color work. But then it switches to your main color for the foot. When you get to the end of the foot, there's going to be another little stripe of contrast, and then the toe will be done in the contrast as well. So yeah, funky little sock. And after I finished the color work, I put it on my leg and I was like, yes, it worked. And yeah, pretty happy about that. Still just, I like to look at it and be like, oh, it's cool. Like, I love how color work looks. I really do. I just don't like knitting it. It's kind of like, I enjoy knitting lace, I think, more than color work, depending on what it is. But generally, I prefer the look of color work to most lace. A lot of lace things I don't like at all. I'm very picky with the lace that I like. Been chatting at you for 20 minutes. I'm gonna stop for now, and I will check in with you guys later to, I guess, talk about this and a shawl that I also finished not too long ago. Talk to you later. Hello. So it's May 26th. It has been forever and a half. I know, I can't seem to find time to sit down and talk to the camera in English. I don't know. I just haven't been feeling it. But I wanted to come see you guys real quick to talk about a couple recently finished objects to close off this video. First of all, I have a Kolorblok shawl. Here we go. So the Kolorblok shawl is a pattern designed by Justyna Lorkowska. She's Polish, I believe. And I knit it with an advent calendar from a few years ago from a Dutch dyer called Het Wolbeest. I don't speak Dutch. It's just my best attempt at pronunciation, even though I don't really know the pronunciation rules in Dutch. Anyway, she did an advent calendar a few years ago that it was a half advent, and it was all different shades of purple. The Kolorblok only calls for 10 colors, 10 minis, and a main color, not really main, but a color that you repeat between every stripe. And I had initially tried to knit this advent calendar into a sweater and make a gradient with the yarns, but the thing is, it's so many different kind of tones of purple. You've got more blue, more bluey purples like this, and then more reddish purples like this, and this is more icy and this is more pinky, and it wasn't working as a gradient. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just take 10 of those minis and throw them into the Kolorblok shawl, since it's a pretty simple potato chippy kind of pattern. Like, I'm not a huge fan of knitting shawls. I often find it long and boring, especially when you have tons of stitches on the needles. But this one, I actually like this shawl construction quite a bit because you never have that many stitches. It's a kite shape, I think it's what it's called. And so, like, you cast on and increase for a while. And then when you hit like this point and you just do decreases on one side and increases on the other to create this kind of line in the middle until you hit the end, basically, and you create a point. I actually changed the central decrease to make it more pronounced. Like, you can see that there's the CDD, the line of central double decreases that goes along the whole middle of my shawl, and the original pattern doesn't have that. She has you do a different decrease that doesn't create such a pronounced ridge, and I just thought that I like how the CDD looks, so I switched it out. It was a simple change. It is pretty big, pretty long. I think it definitely grew in length after blocking. But yeah, I haven't gotten that much use out of it because the weather has not been too terrible lately. It's kind of cold right now, but we've had temperatures up in like the 20s for quite a few days in the past month, so it's been really nice. And a shawl has not really been necessary. I originally started knitting it with the recommended needles, and she says kind of like the first section can be your gauge swatch almost, because you're supposed to use up all of your yarn in each section, or almost all of your yarn from your mini. I started knitting with the recommended needles, and then I ran out of yarn like for 4 rows before I was supposed to end the section. So I frogged it, went down a needle size, and then knit it, and it was fine. I have like teeny tiny bits left of each color, and I still have 2 minis from the calendar left, along with the 100-gram skein, because I used the 100-gram skein from the calendar, which is like a white but with purple speckles. There's so little of it in here though that it's kind of hard to show off the speckles. Like here you can see a little bit here. See, there's like some speckling here. Yeah, that one is done. Will I overheat? Who knows? But it's kind of cold in here today. Then I have my Luna tee that I showed you guys earlier in the video. And I had told you I was really unhappy with it and I was thinking of frogging it. But what I ended up doing was I completely frogged the sleeves and I reknit them with decreases. And then I frogged just the bind off. I didn't reknit the body. My initial idea was to reknit the body and add more decreases, but I just simply could not be bothered. So I undid the half Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy bind off that was causing it to flare out a little bit, and I just did a regular knit bind off. Like, the pattern calls for a 2x2 tubular Italian whatever bind off, and I was like, no, too lazy for that. And since it's a non-superwash yarn, the yarn itself is actually really stretchy. So I find that the bind off, even though I used a plain knit bind off, it's still quite stretchy. And I find that it looks a lot better. It looks more acceptable to me now after making those changes. And I have worn it a couple times, and even though like I can definitely feel the texture of the yarn on my skin, I don't really find it itchy unless I start getting a little warm. So I'm pretty happy with it in the end. I do kind of wish there was short row shaping in the neck. I'm not sure what I talked about last time I talked to you guys about this. I think I was just talking about what I was unhappy with, but it has short row shaping in the back, but only after you separate for sleeves. So I do find that it rides up a bit in the front. If I ever reknit this pattern, I will probably add more short rows to the back so it's not like so choky. And I also, like, my problem with this kind of neckline also is that if I wear it with a jacket or a cardigan, sometimes it gets pulled backwards by the outer layer that I'm wearing, and it becomes even more kind of choky. And I find myself pulling it forward a bit. But I still like her. I think she's very pretty, and she'll do. Then I have another finished object that is totally matching my vibe right now. Hello, my name is Sylvia, and I like purple. Did you know? And blue. This top is the Cadaquès by Emilie Louise, aka Atelier Emilie. She is a French knitting pattern designer who does lots of really nice patterns, like often something simple with a little touch. So in this case, this is a simple stockinette tank top with cabled straps. I knit the size large with the recommended needle. I'm not sure if I got gauge. I knit this pattern last year and I went down a needle size to get gauge, but then I didn't like how it fit, but I also used a 100% linen. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it a bit bigger by using a stretchier yarn and going back up to the recommended needle size. The one that I knit in linen, I gave to my mother. Another interesting touch that she has you do here is to actually do a cable right here and right here, where the middle of the front and the back meet, where the triangles meet, because it's knit top down. So you start with the cabled straps, you do your increases to create these triangles, and once you have everything knit, you join it together. And to prevent any weird gapping, she has you do a 1x1 cross here and there, which I think is cool. It has a couple options for the body. You can either knit it straight or do some increases to create a slight A-line shape, which is what I ended up doing. It doesn't have you do tons of increases. I think it was like 3 sets of increases throughout the length of the body. And I knit it to the recommended length. You finish it off with just 1 row of purl stitches, and then you bind off with a regular bind off. When I finished knitting it, it was curling a ton. So when I blocked it, I pinned down the bottom. I find that it still kind of feels like it wants to curl, but I can't be bothered to unpick my bind off and add some more purl or garter stitching. The yarn that I used for this is from a French dyer who goes by Ars Natura, A-R-S, not like but, A-R-S Natura. And this is the Merino Tencel base, which is also a base that I'd been wanting to try for a while. That's quite popular here in France. It's 50% Merino, 50% Tencel. It's a sport weight. It's 333 meters per 100 grams. And I find that a lot of dyers that do this base do it in kind of solid or semi-solid colors and tonals. I wasn't finding a lot of people who did it with like speckles and variegation and stuff like that. And last year I came across that she offers all of her colors on Merino Tencel, and I was like, yes! So I ordered some and finally used it up this year. I think it feels really nice. Also, the Cadaquès is designed for a 100% bamboo DK weight. So mine is, I think, quite a lot lighter and flowier. I mean, it's more lightweight, obviously, than if I had knit it in a 100% bamboo DK. And it's a thinner fabric, especially since I'm probably a little bit off gauge. I'm quite happy with it. I like it. I might try, I feel like it is gaping a little bit in the underarms. I know that some people that have knit it have done like a crochet chain along here to close it up a bit. I might do that if I get on lazy one day, but if not, it's okay. I feel like this video, because I have not been very diligent about filming, it's already a bit long, so I'm not gonna talk to you guys about my current whips right now, but those are all of the FOs that I have from the past few weeks, I think. I don't think I've forgotten anything. And I'll see when I can find a moment to start another video and show you guys what I'm working on right now. All right, thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you had a good time. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave me a like, drop me a comment down below. If you made it to the end, you can leave a little star emoji in your comment if you want to let me know. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet and you want to keep seeing my content, irregular as it may be. Have a good day. Happy knitting. Bye.